Week 6 provides another classic franchise matchup as the Pittsburgh Steelers fly to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Two historic franchises going at it again. My name's Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and we are going to break down this Week 6 Pittsburgh Steelers Las Vegas Raiders matchup. Talk about the matchups within the game that you need to watch, and at the very end of the video, provide our predictions on who we think is going to win and why. But before we get into that, we have a goal of trying to get to 100 new subscribers for these Week 6 prediction video series. We've been able to hit that goal over the past couple of weeks thanks to all of the new members to our channel. So thank you to everybody that's joined. And if you haven't already, if this is your first time here, go ahead and subscribe to the Tracy Take. Leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win this game and why. And so, Ryan, Pittsburgh Steelers are coming off a tough final second loss to the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football Week 5. And the Las Vegas Raiders are just coming off a tough loss to the Denver Broncos, who shockingly have a winning record on the season. And so the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, are having a Pittsburgh Steelers type season, and the Raiders seem to be having a lot of turmoil kind of going on inside the locker room, and just that is turmoil with Davante Adams thing kind of going on. That's one thing, but also too, to be fair to them as well, I'm looking at the injury list and injury history of everything, and it's a long list. They got a lot of key guys that are out for either personal reasons like Davante Adams or like Max Crosby, for example, who has just been banged up in and out of the lineup, like your best player on the team. So Andre James also too has been battling some injuries as well. We kind of, when you see all and you hear all this stuff, and Pittsburgh Steelers are also dealing with a lot of injuries as well that we're going to get into. But what do you kind of think of both of these teams kind of moving forward and what you've seen so far from them this season?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things with the Steelers specifically is I think they're just going to be the typical Mike Tomlin team that ends up at around 500 at the end of the year. They're going to play good defense. It's going to be next man up mentality with some of these injuries. They're going to run the ball. They're not going to make mistakes to really hurt themselves. They might not be the most productive or the most efficient offense in the league, but they're going to do just enough to come out ahead with some of these wins. That just wasn't the case on Sunday night against the Cowboys. The Raiders, on the other hand, I don't have that same confidence in. This defense is good, but to me, it's just on player talent. I like Robert Spillane as middle linebacker. Max Crosby is good. Malcolm Kuntz is out for the year. Like Christian Wilkins is a good piece in the middle. Their secondary is okay as well, but this offense just isn't productive enough. They can be productive in spurts, but once when things kind of get derailed, I feel like it goes like way off. And what I mean by that is they were up 10-3 against the Broncos with the ball in the red zone, and then they threw the 100-yard pick six to Patrick Surtain, and things got tied up at 10-10. And then that offense was never the same throughout that game. And so like once when things go wrong, they don't know how to get it back on track. And this is the NFL. Other teams are going to make plays. Other things are going to happen. You have to be able to fight through that adversity. And they haven't really shown this year that they can do that. And the one exception is the Baltimore game. And I will say Baltimore has allowed teams to consistently come back late in games. And so they did take advantage of Baltimore there. But I don't like what I saw yesterday from them and just the total giving up after that, like 100-yard pick six.
Well, especially too, then you go Gardner Minshew is the guy you bring in, and maybe still kind of a stopgap QB as well, because Aiden O'Connell is definitely not the future of the franchise as well. But you bring him in because you saw what he did in Indianapolis, and you kind of put the pieces together with Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers, bring on Brock Bowers as well. Don't really have a great running back room, but your offensive line isn't horrible at the time, you know, and so
yeah,
and dealing with all the injuries. And so I want to correct myself too from what I said earlier about Andre James having injuries. I'm not seeing anything that I think I misspoke, but I meant to say Colton Miller as well has been battling some injuries, and so so. Once again, just I think injury bug piling up on both sides of the ball here as well, and then on top of that, then too, the things kind of maybe going on within the locker room. I think Davante Adams is, and I don't blame him. He's coming towards the end of his career. He's had a great career, but want to be on a more of a championship caliber team with a better quarterback, and he hasn't really had that there, especially too after they got rid of his buddy Derek Carr, and so
yeah.
That's a lot of things going on here, but once again, I think think a lot of players still want to play for Antonio Pierce. They really enjoyed playing for him at the second half of last season when he became the coach after the whole Josh McDaniels thing. And so I have to kind of see how that keeps going. It's still very long part of the season, very early on. And so I think they still have some possibilities to maybe grind out some wins here. You know, they still going to play the Chargers again, still going to play the Broncos again if they can figure some stuff out as the season goes on. They got a game up here against Pittsburgh, who they're battling with some injuries. A lot of injuries on the offensive line. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 3 offensive linemen are out with season-ending injuries. Kind of noticed that last night as they really struggled to kind of be the run-first offense against a banged-up Dallas Cowboys defensive line as well. No Micah Parsons or DeMarcus Lawrence. And so Justin Fields is definitely felt that effect, as well as not having a better offensive line in front of him. Couldn't really connect and show the improvement in passing that we'd seen him make in the Week 4 game against Indianapolis Colts. And admittedly, they don't have the best defense. So it's going to be curious to see how both of these teams are pretty banged up at the moment, can find ways to go and win. The one thing to me is I'm curious how this Raiders defense is going to be able to slow down the Pittsburgh Steelers rushing attack. Because if they are able to, if the Steelers are able to go back to that running team in the way that they want to play the ball, where it's like run first and then kind of high percentage throws for Justin Fields, so like less errors that he has to make. I think it's going to be a long game again for this Las Vegas Raiders defense.
Yeah, I think if the Steelers can do that, it will remind me a little bit of that Steelers-Chargers game where the Steelers – it was a really close game through 3 quarters, and the Steelers were just kind of able to run away with it. Justin Herbert also did get hurt in that game, and Easton Stick came in. However, not to totally diminish the quarterbacks in Las Vegas, those quarterbacks are closer to Easton Stick than they are Justin Herbert on a talent scale. And so I do think the Steelers defense will be able to play well against this Raiders offense. And if you look at, I think the Steelers offense, I think they match up fairly well. I do think they may have some trouble early on getting in the way of or getting into this passing or this running game. I think they're going to have to wear them down throughout the game. Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, those are going to be 2 hard guys to get around early on in the game. But let's kind of get into predictions here. I'm going to go with the Steelers. I trust Mike Tomlin more than I do Antonio Pierce. I think the Steelers team is a little bit more talented than this Raiders team all around. And I think they will be able to just kind of edge them out at the end of the game. I think it'll be relatively low scoring too. I'm going to say 17-14.
I'm also going to go with the Steelers as well. The Steelers are pretty banged up. Nick Herbert was also a guy that got hurt in last night's game. And also, too, Steelers were without Alex Highsmith as well. And so going to be very interesting to see just how this defense stays healthy. I mean, you still have TJ Watt, which is going to be absolutely massive. But I just think in general, though, there's going to be maybe more consistent play from the Steelers, which is just going to be ironic, too, because if you go and look at the playmakers on the Raiders side of the ball, I assume Devontae Adams is probably not going to play. But even, too, like Brock Bowers alone might be the most dynamic of all the athletes out on the team. But if you still pair him up with Jacoby Myers as well. The issue, though, is, and that's kind of where that they don't really have that much of a running game to go along with that. So it's harder, I think, for them to be balanced. Mm-hmm. So if we go and look here,
they did break off a few big runs in the past few weeks, but it feels like it's like nothing big run.
Well, they're 30th overall in rushing yards when it comes to the season. So it's like they have the ability, if they could get a quarterback to be an air raid and go and hit all these guys, because Devontae Adams is your elite receiver, Jacoby Myers your possession guy. Brock Bowers is now that modern day tight end that anybody that everybody wants to have, cover up that middle of the field. But they seem to be struggling to throw the ball, seem to be having that connection outside of that second half of what you were talking about against the Ravens game. And also, too, if they bench Gardner Minshew and they want to go with Aiden O'Connell, then that's going to be it's going to hinder the passing game even more. It's definitely going to be a limited play sheet and trying to keep everything confined and limit errors for a team that can't really run the ball either. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh here feel like they're just a little bit more cohesive, I think, on the offensive and defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I trust Mike Tomlin more than I do Antonio Pierce to put together a winning game plan in this matchup. So
Yeah.
we're both taking the Steelers in this matchup. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Pittsburgh Steelers? Will it be the Las Vegas Raiders? Know that we'll see you guys next time.